It's April 2022, and we're thinking about 40 things that were simply unthinkable, unimaginable just 2 short years ago. I covered the first one, which was that who would have thought that the President of the United States, that the votes to elect the winning candidate for presidency, that 60% of those votes would have been cast before Election Day mainly via mass mail-out ballots, where we did not have a chain of custody. We don't know. We can't have confidence that it went well. And the reason that especially that is so difficult is that we haven't had a tradition in our country. We don't have rhythms, systems, all the people and things that are required in order for the vote to be absolutely secure. We don't have that. This was over 240% more mail-in ballots than we've ever had before. It's a giant swell. We didn't have it secure. Unbelievable. And then what else is really shocking is that I bet you that only a handful of people know that fact. I didn't know it until recently, which is why it was number 1 on my list. I've thought a ton about that election, as many of others have, and I didn't realize that the number of ballots that the winning candidate got was so tremendously high. 60% of their ballots were mail-in ballots. Unthinkable. Las Vegas would have, I'd have taken the bank if I'd have bet that would happen, because no one would think 60% of the votes would be there. Second thing, who would have thought just 2 short years ago that the I don't want to be too generous nor too critical, that sort of the elite oligarchs involved in academia, in entertainment, in the news business, and now in .gov would conspire to work together and ban the sitting president of the United States from being on social media with, quote, disinformation, that he was labeled a source of unreliable information by the folks at Facebook, Google, Twitter, YouTube, and now he was gone, banished to outer darkness. Facebook, Google, YouTube, those guys, they look at their political donations to the ones who work there, people who work there. You can go to fec.gov and type in the employer name. You can find out anyone where they donate, and the people who work there. I just saw something from Pew Research, maybe it was someone else. It just done this election cycle. It was 99%, 99%, 98%, 97% for those 3 companies, 4 companies. I think I forget who the 4th was. But they're all 98 plus of their political donations of those who work for those companies went to Democrat candidates, not Republican candidates. And so that kind of diversity, meaning everyone thinks the same, right? They might have diverse skin colors or diverse something, drive different, I don't know, but their thinking is identical. And when you have people who only think alike hanging out with people who agree with them, you end up with a real bent towards authoritarian rule. Now they don't just believe that they know better than you. They believe that your voice should not be heard because you are a knuckle-dragging Neanderthal in flyover country, right? That if everyone around you agrees with you and all the people that you think are respectable agree with you, then you quickly move to, we must seize control to protect these people, these other people, people who don't agree with us, right? Just Twitter, Facebook, Google, they're this election cycle right now, you look at their employees, people who say they work there, what their political donations are, they're 98, 99% Democrat. So people who might disagree with that voting style, they don't have anyone in their circle who thinks like me. Thinks I'm going to vote Republican. I think these values, we're kind of, again, flyover country, knuckle-dragging Neanderthals. So quickly they want to say, I'm doing you guys a favor by not letting you speak. That's authoritarianism. We're not going to allow you to speak because you're going to hurt yourselves. And that's what they think. You're going to hurt other people because you are so wrong. And they, since they have universal agreement with each other about their correct opinions, that they think that they can sweep aside your formerly constitutional rights to speech, right? The First Amendment, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment or religion or prohibiting freedom of speech or of the press or of the right of the people to peaceably assemble and petition their government for a redress of grievances. That's Amendment 1. And they quickly cast aside such paltry nuances of freedom and put in place their authoritarian rule and kicked off Donald Trump from speaking on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube because he was labeled as a disinformationist, because he questioned what I just mentioned earlier, right? The votings, great swaths of voting questions, and free speech. No, they don't care about free speech. They care about authoritarian rule. And now you've seen, well, I might be sneaking into some of the other 40 things, but you saw Facebook and the White House coordinating to make sure they don't have unapproved opinions, right, on their platform. That is not American. And to have the President of the United States, the most powerful man in the world, banned from social media because he questioned what I just questioned, right? That, hey, man, it's 240% more, I think it's 220% actually, more mail-in ballots, and golly whiz, 60% of the winners' ballots were all mail-in. I can't think of anyone who's voted early or requested mail-in ballot. My brother-in-law was the one I thought of. He was a Marine and lived in Okinawa, Japan. He requested a mail-in ballot, an absentee ballot, because he wasn't going to be in the States to vote. That seems fine, but I don't know anyone who votes mail-in. And we had states, several states, including these swing states, who had mail-in ballots all over the place. They mailed everyone a ballot. And if you'll go look at the results, maybe I'll put a link down there, you'll be shocked at how many of these mandatory mail-in ballot states went from, you know, people who weren't voting all of a sudden voted by the tens of millions. And that would explain a lot. And that would explain why President Donald Trump in this case had a lot of questions about, hey, we should talk about this election thing. And the folks in the authoritarian states of Twitter, Facebook, and Google said, no bueno, you may not speak. And that's un-American and unthinkable. What do you think the betting line would have been in Vegas if we just said, hey, the president's going to be silenced on social media, the sitting president? What do you think the odds would be in 2016 or before Trump was elected, 2014? The odds that the president would be removed from social media for having a political opinion different from the left, I would say that's 100 to 1. I mean, I would have taken that bet, but we'd have been wrong, and it's unthinkable. 40 things that were unthinkable, because the reason they're unthinkable is because we live in a free country. We have rights, not that are given by the government, but that are enumerated in our founding documents, like the Declaration of Independence. It says, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, and that among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And governments are instituted among men to preserve those rights, right? So we willingly grant authority to a government who is going to preserve and protect and defend our God-given rights. They don't give us because they're merciful lords who decide what we get. No. We allow them to lead so that they can preserve our God-given rights. And one of them, the First Amendment among the Bill of Rights, is the right to free speech. And the oligarchs and the billionaires and those clubs, along with their counterparts in government, ban the president from speaking in public on the public platforms where everyone goes. The viewership on social media is a whole lot less than the viewership, a whole lot more rather than the viewership on legacy news networks. Unthinkable just 2 short years ago. We've got 38 more to go, and these are the first 2. Freedom, my brothers and sisters, is better. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, and among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Freedom is better.